And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here, and today we're going to be finding out about a second year of a great event that's coming to Malone University. With us are Bill Quigley from Malone, Ruth Clifford, a student at Malone, and Herman Matherson, who is a newly Master of, say it please?
Diplomacy.
Master of Diplomacy, and the chairman of this awesome event. So thank you all for being here. I know we're going to be speaking a little bit later with Rodney Maiden as well, and he's very involved and going to be emceeing. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, Herman, let's talk about, first of all, before we get to the event itself, let's meet each of you. Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're involved with Equipped to Serve.
I am a professor at Malone College, have been there 16 years. Before that, I did full-time youth ministry in Stark County. Came here from Denver in 1991. Married, 3 adult children, 40, 38, and 35.
Okay, and that's all about Bill Quigley. Ruth Clifford, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Right, hi. Well, I'm a sophomore youth ministry major, and since about middle school, I've had just a passion for youth ministry, and so that's what I'm pursuing at Malone. I really just enjoy the community there and getting to learn from professors like Bill Quigley, and God just really has his hand in that place, and I really enjoy being there.
And you're actually from our community, correct? You're a graduate of?
Jackson High School.
Yay, polar bears. Okay. And we've got Herman Matherson.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am originally from North Carolina. Came this way to work for General Tire. Worked there for 16 years and have been at the House of the Lord for 22 years. And I've been a part of the almost every ministry at the church, and currently function as the Chief Operating Officer there.
Now, what's kind of interesting about Equipped to Serve is it had its beginnings from another very popular annual conference.
Right.
Tell us about the Ohio Christian Education Association.
Yep. Ohio Christian Education Association, which we fondly refer to as OCEA, had been in existence for more than 50 years, and it was housed primarily in Akron, Ohio. Our last venue was at the chapel at Fur Hill. And we've had over the years a myriad of speakers, workshops, vendors that have come through to not just promote the gospel, but to empower the ministry leaders, pastors, pastors' wives, writers, and a whole host of people that work in the kingdom. And from that, as time has gone on, we have merged with Malone now in a great, wonderful partnership to bring this not only to academic community, but to the younger community as well.
The relationship between Malone and the Cleveland community. Tell us a little bit about some of the churches that are involved and have been involved with OCEA.
Well, through OCEA, we began to draw from around the country, but primarily Northeast Ohio. We were in Youngstown, Cleveland, Medina, Canton, and we had people from Columbus, Cincinnati. So we were almost statewide as time went on, because we were one of the few conferences as robust as we were as economically as we were. So there are churches represented from all over the place, and we hope to be able to bring those to the Malone campus as well, so they can glean from all that will be taking place there.
Now, I understand that this was a very popular conference, as you said.
Yes.
There were a couple of things, health reasons and so forth, for members of the board, that they took a couple of years hiatus. Am I right on that?
Yes, we took a couple of years a hiatus. Life happened, and so some of us had to prioritize other things. We had a couple of situations where the weather intervened, and we believe that was God. I know it just snowed buckets, and it was just we had been in motion with the conference and actually had to end it early because of that. And it was not our desire, but it was what it was at the time.
So history has it that Bill Quigley was trying to think that there was a reason, and a necessary reason, to be having these conferences, and that there was a real need, and the fact that OCEA had taken a step back, it was time to bring it back. Bill, how did this all occur?
I teach a class called Leadership and Staff Dynamics, and they needed a project, and having been an OCEA presenter, I had heard that they were moving towards looking for a new place to have the conference, and so I pursued Malone to see if we could have it, and they said yes. So that was how we moved that to Malone, and then we moved from the name of OCT to Equipped to Serve.
And so this will be the second year. How did last year go?
Last year went really well. We probably had about 330 some participants in it, and the class learned a lot and met a lot of wonderful people who are working in the kingdom.
Ruth, did you participate last year? Did you help?
No, I did not. I wasn't in the class of leadership and staff dynamics.
So what are you looking forward to this year?
If we're being honest, the conference being over, because I'm just really nervous about all the responsibilities. I've never really helped essentially run a conference, and so yeah, I'm just kind of nervous about how it's all going to go.
It'll be great to have one under your belt, right?
Yes, definitely.
Well, we will ease your mind by the end of this morning.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
You'll have it just to
Absolutely.
look forward to. Herman, tell us a little bit about what is the need? Why is there such a need for this kind of a conference in Northeast Ohio?
Well, the conference itself speaks to relevance. Okay, and the Bible is relevant. The gospel is relevant. And how is it applied across the spectrum of life, and how do we deal with certain situations? How do we cope? How do we deal with what is going on in the world today and the things that we're being faced with? And the conference gives an opportunity for us to have those discussions, because that's where things begin. It starts with a discussion, not just detailing out a plan, but let's talk about how do you feel? What do you think? What are you coming to? Do I get to know you? Do you get to know me? Mm-hmm. So in the conference, there's a lot of relationship development. And relationship development that we pray will be lifelong, whether it's between student to student, student to pastor, student to lay leader, and vice versa. It makes relevant the gospel and applicable to what's going on in the world today.
Who's invited to attend?
Anyone that wants to attend, but we're geared towards pastors, lay leaders within the church, anyone that belongs to a church, we welcome them to come, because what we're offering in terms of workshops goes across the whole spectrum of life, whether it's women's ministries, whether it is sports, whether it's pastoral, whether it is financial, college. There's something here for everyone. So we invite everyone in the community to take part in this.
Well, let's take a look at let's look at Saturday before we go backwards to Friday.
Sure.
Let's take a look at the conference on Saturday. You do have these breakout workshops as well as keynote, Rodney Maiden, who we'll be speaking to in a few minutes. Tell us a little bit about these breakout workshops and how you came up with these particular workshops.
Well, the workshops, and typically what we've done during the OCT conference, and we did this based on last year, is we take a survey to find out what was of interest, what people liked, even what they did not like. And as we sit around the table with the committee and we talk with our members, what are the needs within our church communities that we would want to address? And that's how we come up. That's how we came up with this list of workshops that we think are broad enough that it can also pick up some ancillary things that are not necessarily mentioned right here. But I think what we have here is more than adequate to begin conversations. And that's one thing we want to start, is to begin conversations, such that the conference does not have to be the end of the conversation, that it will continue on, I'll call it offline, if you will, that it will continue on with people, that they get to learn more, they get to ask more questions, they get to delve in, and hopefully some collaborations and some partnerships will develop. That
is so good. And I know one of the feedbacks from last year was that there was so much available, just so much information, no matter what particular avenue of ministry you happen to be involved in. There was something for you. Can you go ahead and talk about the different I guess, are these subcategories? Talk about those.
Well, we have something for those that are administrators within the church, some skill development there, some things that need to be made aware of. Christian education, of course, in the Sunday school. We have counseling, and there'll be a track for CEUs there as well for those that want to get some professional credit for the work that they're doing. Marriage and family, men's ministries, missions. Missions, of course, not just overseas, but missions within the community in which we live, which is oftentimes overlooked, that we have people right in front of us that are a mission field as well, that we sometimes
So missions downtown.
Missions downtown or uptown. Uptown needs it too.
Uptown certainly does.
Then we've ministry to pastors, sports ministries, I mentioned women's ministries, worship arts. We'll talk about Friday in a minute in terms of a joint choir, if you will, youth and collegiate, and then also the social media aspect, which is huge in the world today.
Yes.
If you're not somewhat connected, you're disconnected.
Yes.
So.
And that brings up a good point. How is what we offer at something like this today different than maybe at OCEA conferences of years gone by?
Well, by virtue of being on a college campus, that's one. That's one thing that takes place there. And because of that, it makes it easy for us to involve the college student and where they are and what they're thinking, how they see the world, how the world revolves around them, and what they may be struggling with. So we don't miss that, because what are we doing for the next generations, 2 or 3 generations? So it is to that end. Although we were close to University of Akron, it is also one in which we are able to reach out to the community. I did miss one ministry, and we've just added one on prison ministry.
Oh, okay.
which is tremendous. Is big at our church as well, because that's unfortunately sometimes a forgotten community.
Yes.
That needs to be reached, and the system now is reaching back out to the church. Come give us some help.
Are there issues that you find yourself having to deal with today that you have not had to touch on at past conferences? You mentioned social media is something that's just so breakout. Small churches need to be up with the big churches on that one to be able to communicate with their congregations. Are there others?
Well, sure. What you've seen in the news in the last few years in terms of race relations and what is going on there, the recent Supreme Court decision on defining marriage is another one. Just the issue of homosexuality. These are things that I don't know of a church that is not wrestling with it. If they're not, I have some other questions.
Yes.
But how are we dealing with those avenues? How are we having the conversations? Are we extending love to those that may have a purview that is different from ours, that may strike at the core of who we are?
And this conference, Equipped to Serve, will be like not skirting around those tough issues. They will be addressing these issues you're saying.
That is our heart's desire, that we begin to have those tough, difficult conversations, because the issues are right in front of us, and we have to stop winking or looking away.
Well, it sounds like you're going to get way more than a nice flannel board presentation at this. Now, the keynote speaker, we're excited. We're going to be speaking to him in just about a minute. Tell us a little bit about Rodney Maiden.
Pastor Rodney Maiden is he's the pastor at Providence Baptist Church in Cleveland. He's been a board member on OCEA for a number of years. Very well respected, a conference speaker himself, and we love Rodney. He has a very powerful word and has a huge desire to help other pastors.
You are turned into our community. We're speaking with Herman Matherson along with Bill Quigley and Ruth Clifford. Going to be touching base with Rodney Maiden in just a few minutes, talking about the Equip to Serve conference coming up October 23rd and 24th. We do hope you'll stay with us. We've got lots more on the other side of this break. You're listening to Our Community.